don't know who it is. Who the fuck goes to somebody's house in another country and goes, oh yeah, I'll spend the day with him. I'd probably spend the day with James McAvoy too. Welcome everybody to the review of the 2024 new release of a remake of the 2022 movie Speak No Evil. So let me give some context before I get started with my review, because the crux of this film is going to depend on whether or not you are a sick nihilistic bastard who liked the original's very bleak and hopeless ending. If you did, you're not going to like this movie. Now, there's a couple of things I want to discuss before I get into the characters and the breakdown. This is a weird movie because Blumhouse literally has remaked a movie that was out 2 years ago that you can go check out on Shudder, called Speak No Evil, which is a Danish film about a couple that really focuses in on the classisms and the unrelenting niceness between the Danish and Dutch subcultures. So the original Speak No Evil had a theme and a message of taking advantage of people's kindnesses or people being kind to the point of being fucking stupid. And that was kind of the point of the movie. So I saw a lot of people online reviewing this going, the couple are so stupid, blah, blah, blah. They're so nice. Actually, I would argue this movie does that concept better. And I'll get into that when I get more into my review. But there is something to be said about remakes being done literally 2 years apart from the movie it's remaking. They did it with Cabin Fever. I fucking hated the new Cabin Fever. Don't ever try to make Eli Roth classic. That movie is great. But this, I feel like, here's my thing, and this is a hot take. I personally don't like the original Speak No Evil. I think it's hopelessly fucking bleak. I do not like the ending. And while I respect what it's done, and I'm not part of the culture, so I, to a degree, understand what they're talking about, I feel like it's a movie I can watch once and never watch it ever again. Whereas this movie does something that's still kind of bleak, but it makes it a little bit more watchable. Because the truth of the matter is, I don't know how many people will watch Speak No Evil once and be like, well, I'm going to put that motherfucker back on. You're not going to. It's a very nihilistic movie. So bringing James McAvoy into this was a great choice. And not just James McAvoy. I'm going to talk about several of the characters, but Speak No Evil 2024 is directed by James Watkins, who is best known for Eating the Lake and The Woman in Black, which are two movies I really enjoyed. And I didn't even know he was attached onto this. So he's a very good filmmaker. I do feel like Blumhouse gave him some notes. They're like, people are fucking stupid, so you got to point out a few things in this movie, because the differences between this movie and the original are slim till about the last 40 minutes of the movie, and then it takes a radically fucking turn left. And both twists are good within the context of their own movies. And I'm not going to spoil the ending. This is non-spoiler, but I will say you can watch this one and not need to take a shower after watching it. When I watched the first Speak No Evil, I felt like I just watched something that psychologically fucked me up for a good majority of my day. This movie, I came out still with that sense of fucked upness, but there was also a kind of fun to it where I didn't feel like I needed to take a shower afterwards. So James Watkins directs this. This stars James McAvoy, Mackenzie Davis, and Alcing Francesco, and Scoot McNeary. And this takes place, they've switched the location. This is no longer obviously a Dutch and Danish kind of thing. This is an American family who goes to a remote farmhouse. They get invited by a British couple, and then they portray themselves as something. Slowly, shit unravels, and you get to see James McAvoy be James McAvoy. So let's just get this out of the way. I'm going to say the same thing that every fucking other reviewer is saying. James McAvoy is fucking brilliant in this movie. He is absolutely positively intimidating and scary. you can tell in this movie he really understood the assignment of the original movie and what the original character was. But James McAvoy, to me, is better than the original antagonist. And I will tell you why. Because when I was watching Speak No Evil, and maybe this is a cultural thing, you guys can let me know in the comments below, I felt as if the person who was Bien or Bien, excuse me if I butcher this, because I am not from fucking, the Danish countryside or whatever. But the characters' names are changed. So in the original, you had two characters. You had Borgen and Patrick, and then Borgen was the antagonist, and the person who played him, which was Morten Borian, was creepy in a way where you could tell he's creepy. He's not a guy I would get a beer with, okay? Clearly, if I seen this guy, I would have been like, fuck that dude, thank you for your hospitality, but that'll be a no. Me and my family are going to go this way. You do whatever the fuck. In this version, James McAvoy is a very likable character. And James McAvoy has this thing where he can switch from a dude you'd have a drink with to that guy where he gets into a situation and you're wondering when you went to the bar how the fuck you ended up fighting like 10 people, and because it was your crazy ass best friend who had one too many drinks and then went fucking nuts, and there you are in a big ass bar fight, but you have a story to tell. And that's kind of what James McAvoy brings to this. I think James McAvoy brings that believability that you would actually follow this person and want to go hang out at their house with them. Much like the original. And I want to highlight something. A lot of people might check out of this because they'll see that this movie follows the beats of that original movie to a fucking T for like the first 30 to 40 minutes. I was almost going to come on here and say another fucking useless remake we didn't need because they just copy and pasted the original, and I have the original. But where this movie deviates is about once you get to them getting to this house and you get about 20 minutes past that and you get to a particular scene, this shit takes a crazy ass left turn and it goes in a completely different direction, which I have to say, I really respect the fact that the movie did try something new. And what they did to me is another way that original movie could have ended. So what I mean is this is a big what if scenario. Like, what if the characters made better fucking choices? And I understand. And I hate this excuse because I've heard this for the original movie a lot. And if you could tell, I'm not a huge fan of the original movie. I respect it, but I think this is a case where I like the remake more. But in that original movie, I pounded my head against the wall because it's like, how many fucking red flags do you need to see before you get the fuck out of there? And in this movie, they balanced that out with great acting from, hold on a second, Mackenzie Davis. Mackenzie Davis is the foil, and she is now the new Louise Dalton. So they changed the names, and Scoot McNairy plays Ben Dalton and Louise Dalton. And keeping with that theme, there is a theme that it borrows from the other movie where you have this very passive-aggressive dude. His wife kind of thinks he's not really a man, which is hilarious. And you have her as the voice of reason saying, I don't like this. What the fuck are we still doing here? And I think that, to me, makes this feel a little bit more authentic in how everything goes down. And once again, the original is a different culture. So I don't know if it's commentary that those people are too fucking friendly or whatever, and that's cool. But as a viewer, that doesn't make for a good watching experience where I'm screaming at the fucking TV, why the fuck you are still here? These situations are a little bit more understandable. There's a particular scene in the original where they go back for the kid's fucking rabbit, and I was screaming at my TV, like, why the fuck am I going back? Like, I'll buy you a new fucking bunny rabbit. Like, fuck that. Leave the toy there. In this movie, they do something a little bit different. that makes sense why they go back for the kid's toy. It's got some kind of sentimental value. There's something attached, very specific. And like I said, this is non-spoilers and I don't want to get into it, where you would understand and you'd be like, fuck, man, I get why they have to go back. Like there's a psychological traumatic reason for why their kid needs this toy. And I get it. I get why the parents would go back and whatever. Like a lot of the scenarios play out the same with slightly different modern takes. And I'm going to say a lot of people might not like that. I've heard this movie is very split. There's some people who like this movie because they didn't like the original, like myself, and they like the approach that they take. There's some people who dislike this movie for the ending. And speaking of which, that's going to be the biggest thing. The end of this movie is going to either piss you off or you're going to enjoy it. Because I don't know, I never knew that so many fucking people are nihilistic. But there's a lot of people who do not like the direction that the end of this film takes. I'm going to be honest with you, I am not one of those people. Like, look, I like nihilistic movies. I like bleak and hopeless movies. One of my favorite movies was When the Evil Lurks. Spoiler, there is no fucking happy ending in that movie. But I just loved the way that they executed it. Here, the thing that happens at the end of that original movie, if you know, you know. I would suggest seeing the original Speak No Evil, but see it after this movie. If you haven't seen that movie in 2 years, I would suggest going to see this first and then go see the original, because I think you will have a better objective pairing as opposed to seeing them, because it's like in the beginning, watching this film is like watching the same exact fucking movie for the first whatever. Now, my other issue with this movie is that in the original movie, the way that the story goes and the events that happen in the beginning, they help that story more because that story is telling a different story. This movie, some of the stuff they forced to connect because this is an American modernized version of that film, and the themes from that original film don't fit this one. And it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. You can get it in there, but it's very uncomfortable. And for me, I can feel where some of the story was really forced in to keep it in sync with that original tale. Now, that's not to say it's bad. It's not to say that it comes off, terrible. No one's really terrible. Nothing's really bad in this movie per se. It's just you could tell where the themes that they're going for and the stuff that they left in here don't quite fit where the end of this movie goes. As far as acting goes, everyone does a great job. I heard Scoot McNairy get a lot of shit, but that's because he does his job good as Ben Dalton. If you guys don't know, the original dude who was in that 2022 movie was a fucking idiot. And Scoot McNairy keeps that tradition very well. Fucking annoyed at him. This fucking dude made me want to punch the screen, and that's pretty much the point of his character. But who really shines, the two highlights, is Mackenzie Davis and James McAvoy. Mackenzie Davis brings this vulnerability, and she brings a much-needing, refreshing, smart character. She is the character that we are in the audience. It's as if they understood what people hated about that movie or that premise, and they said, let's throw in this character who is self-aware that this is fucked up and they should get the fuck out of here. And constantly she's saying the shit that the audience is saying, and I think that helps. The other thing this movie has, and I'm not saying it's a comedy, but there's very dark humor in this movie. There's a couple of parts where I was laughing my ass off, especially James McAvoy. There's some shit he says that's out of left field, that's so outlandish that made me laugh, because the way he delivers a line, it's so nonchalant, but so fucking wild, especially in the latter half of the movie. If you want one reason to see this movie for James McAvoy. The man should fucking get an award by now. the depths he brings to a character that on the surface should be a one-note, generic kind of evil character. There are so many layers to the performance that James McAvoy is giving in this movie. The way he goes from like pretending to be sad to being manic to being happy to being a crazy happy, and you'll know what I mean when you see the movie, to being just downright fucking psychotic and scary. Dude goes through a door. And I'm not talking about like he kicks the door or he literally fucking goes through the door with it closed. I guess people in England don't make very good doors, but he is fucking scary. He is scary. He is intense. They've shown it in the trailers, that scene where he's got like his tank top on. He's got a black tank top, and dude is fucking scary. And it's really hilarious because compared to Scoot McNairy, when things happen that happen in the latter half of this movie, I just look at going, dude, fucking run. Because there is no way you are beating him at all. James McAvoy is fucking jacked in this movie. And there's a scene, and this is not a spoiler, there's a scene where they show him fucking cutting wood, and dude looks like a fucking X-Men character. Irony, he played Professor X, but like he is fucking scary as shit in this movie. And the thing that is so great is this movie also does the thing that the original movie did, where it builds this tension. And you kind of feel it throughout the whole thing, and there's no jump scares. It's just a slow, uneasy feeling as this family starts to get more and more uncomfortable with this other couple, and as this other couple starts saying more and more wild shit. And then as you get the reveals of what this couple is doing and what's going on, and you realize what this is all leading to, it is definitely intense. Now, I would say, much like the original, this is not a horror movie. I mean, it could be, it is classified as horror, but it leans more heavily into psychological horror. But in general, the one reason to see this movie is James McAvoy and Mackenzie Davis. They single-handedly make this movie 20 times more enjoyable for me than the previous movie did, because the issue I have with the previous movie is there was some comedy in that too, but the ending is so fucking bleak. It is so depressing and just so fucked up that I couldn't really enjoy what the movie was trying to say, and it left me feeling dirty. That's the only word I could use. I felt just disgusting watching that film. Whereas this one, it has, yes, it has the typical Americanized ending, but I think it really fits for this movie because the original is so fucking bleak. And this one is more of you can come out still having that feeling of suspense and feeling like you're not going to know what is happening, but it's still watchable. So, all in all, what do I think? I think that the cinematography in this movie is really good. The sound. Oh, that's the other thing. The sound in this movie is fucking, like, I would put it head and shoulders with the original. There's particular scenes and things like that, especially when you're in the theater. There's one scene in particular, you'll know when you see it, where the fucking sound just makes you go, oh, God, like, oh. Like, it's pretty gnarly. And that's the thing. The sound, the cinematography, everything is good. Now, I know Blumhouse, and I have this relationship with Blumhouse. They're a hit or miss. Either they put out a really shitty movie, or they put out a decent movie, or they put out a good movie and they ruin it for like 500 sequels. But this is a movie where the director and the acting really saves this movie from being another generic remake. You could tell everybody involved really liked the material and that they gave it 100%. Now, I'm not going to say this is going to beat the original movie for you. I'm not even going to say it beats the original movie for me, but I will say it's more watchable for me than that original movie was. as far as messaging and as far as the different things that the movies are saying, I think you can't really compare them in that sense, because this goes in a completely different direction and has a completely different message than the original does. But with that being said, I think that if you are a fan of the original and you haven't seen it in a while, check this one out and then do your own compare and contrast. Or if you didn't like the original and it was just too fucked up for you, I'd say go see this one, because you'll feel less dirty than that movie made you feel. You definitely get some sleep. But if you are a diehard fan of the original movie and you're a nihilistic fuck, you probably won't like this movie, because this goes in a completely 360 ending. And I also give this points for being original. So I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's anything breaking, but for me, rewatchability is high on my list, and I could see myself watching this a lot more. The first Speak No Evil, I only watched once, and I will never watch it again, just because it's just too fucked up. It's just like I would have to click it off, that fucking ending. And if you guys have seen the original, you know what I'm talking about. That fucking end of that movie, it was the most depressing, fucked up thing I've seen in quite some time. And I didn't even watch the original to prep for this one. I will always, it's like burned in my mind. I will always remember how that movie ended, because it's so fucking depressing. So this movie, on the other hand, it does something a little different, a little unique. And I think that while what happens sticks with you, I think it's a little bit more palatable. And, maybe I'm just an American, but it makes me want to revisit this movie. And here on the channel, I might do a compare and contrast like I did for Candyman, and I might go over both films and do the ending of this movie versus the ending of the original, and kind of let you guys decide what you think. But yeah, if you're a fan of James McAvoy, go check out this film. If you want to see a good psychological thriller, go check this film out. If you haven't already seen Beetlejuice, then I would check this one out. And I do have a review coming for Beetlejuice. But yeah, this movie is an 8 out of 10. I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought I've seen worse remakes, and this gives you what you like about the original movie. And it gives you some of the original movie's themes while doing something to make itself stand out. And I honestly think these movies can both exist together, and you can get two totally different experiences from the same concept. And that's what a good remake should do. So yeah, go check this one out. Anyways, thank you very much. If you are a fan of the channel, please like, share, subscribe, all the YouTube things. Tell everyone about these reviews. And check out my new shirt. Love it. Horror movie horror. Because I am. So the bitchy unicorn got me that. But yeah, you're going to see some more horror reviews coming up. I'm also going to be doing a surprise review. So stay tuned to the channel for that. And as always, remember, there is only one rule here in the Phantom Zone: kneel before General Zod.